one little trick that made a huge difference in my trading. And I promise you, if you apply this little tip that I'm going to be covering in today's video, this will do a complete 180 on your results. In full transparency, this is for smart money traders. If you didn't see the live event that I'm referring to, if you go to my page and you go to community, you will see the live event. I talked about a little trick that has been really helpful in my trading. It kind of is paired with a question. Where can price go that will hurt the most people? And what I mean by that is essentially looking at where a lot of opinions are accumulating. So what we really talked about when we were looking at gold, you can go check out the recording for that. But I talked briefly about something that I do very frequently and something I highly recommend you do. And the reason why I do this, so I can really kind of gauge where all these opinions are formulating, is for two big reasons. The first one is to find places to avoid entries. And the second big one is to help find clear targets. So that's the main question that I'm asking. And I highly encourage when you're marking up your charts that you do this. And again, if you're new to my page, you know that I don't subscribe to trend line support and resistance and head and shoulders patterns. I am looking for manipulation before I look for my entries. One thing that I really like to focus on is trying to get in the minds of how most people are viewing the market. So one thing that I did was I started marking up trend lines, and we had this big channel, something along the lines of this. And we also had a couple different support and resistance areas. So we can clearly see we have a big support level right here where there's lots of touches. And then we have our second support resistance break retest level right here, where we can see price came up, it acted like a ceiling, and price was kind of just bouncing up and down until it broke out of this range and then came back and tested, and now it's acting like a floor or a support. So I obviously am not subscribing to this methodology, but I am using it to gauge where I shouldn't get entry, meaning if this is a support and resistance area, and let's say I see a little micro pattern in this area that has a little manipulation candle on a lower time frame, I am not getting involved in here because I'm always asking myself, where can price go that's going to hurt the most people? And for me, looking at a pattern like this, realizing that a lot of people are most likely buying in this pattern. Every time price pushes down onto this level, they're looking to buy. We're seeing impulsive moves here. We're seeing flag patterns pull back into the newfound support. And ideally, people would look for this continuation, or if price were to break out like this, that shifts over to a bearish sentiment where they would look for price to come up into this area here that would be now resistance on this trend line and this level right here, and they would go to the downside. They would anticipate or forecast price to continue something like that. With that being in the back of my mind, if this is where the majority of people are looking to buy, where are they putting their stop losses? Here's an entry, all of these lows here. A lot of these retail methodologies, when they have levels like this, a lot of it is something like this, where they'll buy, they'll put entries somewhere in this area. Stops would be maybe somewhere under here, or a little bit of a wider stop and maybe underneath this level here, and then target somewhere up in this area here. I'm just thinking to myself, okay, where can price go that's going to hurt the most people? And that's what I'm referring to. Where can price run that's going to absolutely hurt the most people and stop out the most people or trick the most people? So that's what I talked about on that live event. I said with this pattern, I'm definitely bullish, but there were a couple different spots where I could see price coming up from. One being after price does something like this and then make its move up, and you'll see that very frequently in the market. And price does the okie doke, and it makes you think it's doing one thing and then it does another like this, breaking out to the downside, and then it looks like it's going to retest this only for it to fly up here and run the upside. That was one of the things that I was forecasting on that live event, for price to do this or just make a deeper retracement. As we can see, we have a bullish swing here. We have our higher low and then a higher high. The other forecast was for price to make a deeper retracement before price coming up like this. And those were the two things that I was looking at. What I did know for sure price was not going to do this. The little trick that I recommend in matching it up with this question is when you're marking up a pair, go to tradingview.com and type in the pair that you're marking up. I already have it pulled up here. This is gonna not be entirely accurate because I did that markup a week ago from today. Today is May 22nd. We did that live event May 15th. These are gonna be more closer to what price is doing now. But the idea here is this is similar to what we were looking at. So this was updated May 19th. So he's probably been updating that as price continues to update. But you can see here, the majority of the ideas are going to be trend lines, support levels, right? So this was actually pretty close to what price looked like when we marked things up. He's got this trend line here and he's got this support level, whether he's looking for price to come down and then buy from here. If that's the case and we see a support level here and stop losses are going under this level, that is what we use for targets. That's also going to help us avoid getting involved in an area too prematurely when things are still setting up, when there's lows to be targeted. So if you had a setup in here, let's say price swings down and then pushes up and breaks, we're not going to want to buy here, even if it has a signal that correlates with smart money concepts, because we have this big level here and it puts your entry and your stop loss at danger. We already know what happened here. Price ended up running these lows. So we can see price push down, and this is current price action. This is a higher time frame, 8 hour. But we can see price ran this level. And then naturally when it breaks the level, people look for a pullback and a break retest, whatever that might be. So the idea here, just like this one here, this was another exact replica of what we marked up on that May 15th recording, where we had the trend line and we had this big flag pattern, and we were looking for a price to disrespect this trend line, knowing that most people are looking to buy here, and we can obviously see price had run through those levels. So he had a liquidity zone here, so this actually might be a smart money trader, but you can see here like a lot of patterns here, right? So now he would be looking for a retest. A lot of these patterns are based on the same concepts or method. It's drawing a line where price shows multiple reactions, whether that's a horizontal line or a diagonal line to make a trend line. They're looking for price to come into these levels like this and then react. So this again was another clear representation of what we talked about on Monday, where, okay, price broke this level here and it came down to this next support level, and he's looking for price to react there and push up, knowing that his stop loss will go under this level here. And that again will help us avoid an entry here. And then we would want to look for the sell side, and we would use this level here as a target. So we already know price broke through that level here. That support level didn't work out. This support level also didn't work out. That's really what I highly recommend you do as a smart money trader, especially if you're having a hard time putting together a daily directional bias or a weekly directional bias. Ask yourself a very simple question. Where can price go that will hurt the most people? Especially if you don't have retail trading experience, simply pull up TradingView, type in the pair like we have here. This is all gold, and you're just going to see hundreds and hundreds of markups, and 99% of them are going to be support, resistance, and trend lines and patterns of that such like we see here. And it's going to paint a really clear picture of where price can go that's going to hurt the most people, helping you get very crystal clear targets and showing you areas that you should avoid for entry. And then we can either wait for manipulation to align with these areas. Like, so for example here, if we thought price was going to come for this level here and we can see some relative equal highs right here, maybe we can see price push up into this level, filling this area of imbalance, push down below this level, make a lower low, and then we would look for a pushback up into that manipulation candle and then target these lows. And obviously I don't think that happened, but if it pushed up a little higher and then made a low, we could look for a little entry there and then targeting these lows. It's going to help you get a really good idea of where price is going to go, where your targets should be, and where you should be looking for setup. So that's my little trick. This thing had a huge impact on my trading and just being able to get a clear idea of what price is doing, the narrative, the story that is being told. And let me know in the comments if this is helpful.